I got a haircut and I'm drinking Red Bull this morning. You know what that means. I'm not wearing shoes today. Woo!
Now, I've had this on my Steam library for a while, and I was planning on doing an episode on it sooner, but after playing Jack Orlando, well...
If you wanting information so badly, don't think what you give me for that.
Let's just say I needed a break. The Blackwell games are about a medium named Rosangela Blackwell and her spirit guide, Joey Malone, who looks like the ghost of Dick Tracy. Together, they find ghosts of the dead that are unwilling to move on to the afterlife and help put them to rest. The first of the 5 games, the Blackwell Legacy, is a pretty rough start into the series. Game opens up with Rosangela standing on a bridge with an urn containing her aunt's ashes, who's just passed away.
Do I love you? Do I miss you? I don't know for sure. I hardly know you.
Major Pete Reynolds, United States Army.
No, that one's still worse.
Rosa then heads home for some rest, but unfortunately, the new doorman doesn't recognize her and won't let her into the apartment.
Listen, I really live here. 4th floor, number 4E.
You have any ID? A driver's license or something?
Yes, I have a driver's license. It's upstairs. In my desk drawer. Crap.
How about I shove that cigarette right in your fucking face, you little shit?
Out of my way. I'm going in.
I wouldn't do that.
Why? Are you going to stop me?
Me? No. But I've got a cell phone in my pocket with 911 programmed in. All I have to do is hit send and the cops will be here in 5 minutes.
Good. I'll wait in my apartment with my driver's license that proves I live here.
This is really stupid.
Yeah, it is. Why do all these point and clicks admit to doing stupid shit and then still make you do it? We're not gonna get into the apartment anytime soon, so it's best if we explore other venues. We can either go to the park to find Rosa's neighbor who can help her get inside the apartment, or we can go visit her aunt's doctor to collect some things. If I were Rosa, I'd want to get this dead aunt business out of the way as soon as possible, so let's head over to the hospital. Hey, that kinda rhymes.
Come in.
Steven Spielberg!
Mr. Spielberg, big fan. Love the Crystal Skull.
You got my letter, I trust.
Yes, I did.
Good. My condolences on the loss of your mother.
Thanks, but she was my aunt, not my mother.
Ah, quite right.
So you wanted to talk to me about something?
Yes, I did. But before we go into that, how are you holding up?
Let's just fast forward through this. It's a long conversation about Rosa's family line and how it seems as though there is a steadily creeping case of dementia affecting the people in her family.
Patricia's case was severe, and she was young, but it was chalked up to being an ordinary case of dementia.
Yeah, dementia. Ordinary. Pop quiz time. What are long conversations that don't provide you with any incentive to feel invested in them? Boring. Those conversations are boring, and for the first half of this 3-hour game, every conversation is super boring. Until Joey Malone shows up, the game is just one big tutorial and expository dump for you to get acquainted with the setting and Rosangela, which we don't need. We don't need this long explanation as to how Rosangela has her powers or her entire family's backstory before we start doing the detective stuff. You can achieve the same results in a more interesting way by imparting little pieces of that information as we play the game. The second game, Blackwell Unbound, does this way better. It's a prequel about Rosa's aunt, so it covers information we already learned, but it does it in a much more efficient way by letting you examine pictures in her house and answering phone calls from her brother. In a video game at least, backstory is typically better presented through the little details you find while playing, not as this huge block of information the writer is asking you to digest before doing anything else, especially when that's preventing your core gameplay. Thankfully, Blackwell Unbound begins almost immediately with what these games are all about.
Absolutely not. Right now, nothing exists except for me and this cigarette.
Oh no, it's cool, I'll wait. He said goodbye.
You know, for a lady with so many ashtrays, in so many places, so that you can multitask as you smoke, you're being abnormally difficult about this. Tim Schafer, you thief! Blackwell Unbound had character switching way before you ever did. And before you ask, yes, switching between Joey and the Blackwells, which incidentally is a good name for a band, is a puzzle-solving mechanic. A locked door? Joey can phase through it, but he has extremely limited interaction with the world around him.
Give me just a second. I'm gonna add that to my list of things I cannot touch.
Rosa can talk to people and interact with objects, but she can't get through restricted areas or look inside locked drawers like Joey can. And you aren't just using the appropriate character to do what they're good at. You're actively switching between them to gather information. There's one puzzle involving an apartment mailbox that Rosa can't get into and Joey can't see inside of. To solve it, Rosa drops a glow-in-the-dark business card inside so that when Joey pokes his head through, he can make out the information and relay it back to Rosa. All of these puzzles in the series are cool because they're focused on having two playable characters interacting with the environment in different ways, but they don't happen often enough. Instead, most of the puzzles and people you can talk to are exclusive to one character, or too simple. Having Joey phase through a locked door to read you the password posted on the wall next to it in order to open it is not my idea of a clever puzzle. These are the kinds of puzzles that take up most of the Blackwell series' gameplay, and it's largely due to the lack of more traditional point-and-click elements. When you hear the word point-and-click, your mind can jump to many staples of the genre. Mine snaps to picking items up and using them somewhere else. Instead of picking up lots of items, the Blackwell mediums take plenty of notes. You meet many characters throughout each game and collect notes that you can use to gather more information out of them. In order to progress in your investigations, you have to put clues in your notebook together in order to form a better idea of what transpired. You can then use this new compounded idea to ask people for more information. This is a double-edged sword because on one hand, you're less likely to run into insanely obtuse solutions like having to combine a shoestring with ice cubes to make a coffee table. But on the other hand, the game is more likely to turn into a monotonous sequence of running back and forth between NPCs. An appropriate example exists in Blackwell Unbound. Talk to this ghost. Now talk to piano guy. Now talk to this ghost again. Now talk to this man. Now talk to piano guy. Now to this man again. To piano guy. To ghost. To this man. To piano guy. To the ghost. To the man.
Take it back now, y'all.
When your adventure strictly revolves around 3 different places and you're constantly being pinballed back and forth between them, you don't really get the sensation that you're making progress. Which, surprise, surprise, is why learning more about the ghost and helping them pass on don't feel any different from one another. My reaction to completing the Jazz ghost case wasn't one of, "Ha! I did it!" It was more of a, "Oh, I guess that's done then." It should have felt like I solved the mystery, but it didn't. It felt more like I had just finished going through the ghost's itinerary. But most fans of the genre can agree that lackluster gameplay can be more than made up for in presentation. History has proven that a fun adventure with entertaining characters can make any point-and-click enjoyable to go through. So do the Blackwell games at least have that? Sometimes I want to say yes. Most of the time, I say no. The first game is difficult to sit through, and the second is more so in the right direction, yet still a little scattered, but I would say the first time I was actively enjoying the series was in the third title, Blackwell Convergence.
Come meet me out on the fire escape. We can talk more in private.
Oh no. Good things never happen on fire escapes. Except in that one movie, but that's not something I should talk about on camera. Aw shit, the game just went sci-fi. Any minute now, Flash Gordon is gonna be zooming by on that flying jazzercise machine. Just you wait. I want to talk about our main characters for a second. The titular characters of the series are great. I was hoping for games about a detective duo solving ghost crimes involving a girl and her stand, and that is exactly what I got. Rosangela is a reclusive and reluctant hero that slowly grows into the role she's been given, and Joey Malone is this sarcastic, tough guy that's still very prone to sympathy despite being focused on the job. They're not cardboard cutouts of what you'd expect these characters to be. Joey is not a hard-boiled, disgruntled detective, and Rosangela is not dorky or super nerdy or anything like that. They're fleshed out, they're multidimensional, and they're very believable on top of everything else, which is important when one of them is a ghost. Their dialogue is great too. Every piece of dialogue between these two was always either compelling, funny, or increasingly interesting as the games continued and you started to learn more about them and their relationship grew. The rest of the cast was not as stellar, and it's largely to do with the writing. A lot of conversations tend to meander, and more than a few times I was clicking past a lot of fluff that I didn't care to listen to. 4 out of 5 of these games are 3 hours long each, and in each of those I felt like the game had run its course long before it was done. There were plenty of dialogue trees that could have been truncated and improved, if not because it's a shorter and more concentrated narrative, because of the voice acting. The voice acting in this series is not great. Rebecca Whittaker plays Rosangela and she's good, but 1 line out of 20 it sounds like she's just reading. Abe Goldfarb completely owns his role as Joey Malone, and his performance increasingly gets better with each game, and you can tell he's comfortable playing the character, but still every now and then he puts a weird emphasis on the wrong word and it sounds strange.
I'm afraid I'm not up to date on pop culture.
But everyone else is okay at best. No one is really bringing their A game, and they reuse the actors a lot, which means you're hearing these mediocre performances across multiple characters and multiple games, and it sucks.
No big loss. The place was a dump. Plus, they wanted it so badly that they paid most of us a monthly stipend just to leave. Pretty generous, actually. I can almost forgive them for nearly robbing me.
Oh yes, this is my old people voice for the wrinkled and soon to be decrepit. All of my house pets are dead, but I'm too old to tell the difference. I'm so old that my genitals are the least sagging part of my body. And then there's this lady.
Look, I've had enough. I'm not going to stand here and indulge in idle chit-chat. Who are you?
Fucking stop.
The sound quality of the recordings aren't great either, which is something I wasn't expecting to talk about. It's very inconsistent. Sometimes one line in a conversation will have this insane amount of white noise, sometimes it's all the lines for that character, sometimes you can clearly hear what sounds like construction work in the background, and lots of times it sounds like the music is swallowing the rest of the audio.
That's my dad. He and I started this place about 20 years ago. He's retired now, but he pops his head in sometimes.
But much how the ending of Blackwell Deception reveals that there are darker forces at work, there is a much bigger problem lurking in the depths of this series that can destroy us all.
My issue with the Blackwell series is that it doesn't know what the fuck it wants to be about. I'm going to be very frustrated momentarily.
When I was trying to write about it in the script, I couldn't put my thoughts together, so I resorted to recording myself just raving about it unscripted. I was planning on it taking a few minutes. That video will most likely never see the light of day because it's about an hour long. If you ever wondered how long these episodes would be without a script, now you know. Scripting is my limiter. Because I don't like to spoil the ending to detective stories, I'm just going to tell you the hooks that kept me going from one game to the next that never get solved. 1. At the end of the Blackwell Legacy, Rosa asks Joey about the reasons behind her family's insanity, to which Joey responds with,
And Auntie?
She made a mistake.
What kind of mistake?
Hey, what is this, 20 questions?
This is the lead-in to Blackwell Unbound, which focuses on Rosa's aunt, but the player never discovers the mistake in that game, nor is it ever brought up again in the rest of the series. 2. Blackwell Convergence reveals that spirit mediums go crazy when they purposely disconnect themselves from their spirit guides. We learn that the pseudo-villain of the past 2 games, the Countess, was a medium who did this exact thing, resulting in the banishing of her spirit guide into an empty plane of existence. This explanation as for why Rosa's aunt goes crazy makes no sense, because Joey Malone was still very much connected to her and was forced to spend 25 years next to a hospital bed as his friend slowly truly died of insanity. That being said, at the end of Convergence, the series has a solid conclusion. The Countess is defeated. It is assumed that her spirit guide finally found rest, and Rosa and Joey can continue their adventures. Number 3, Blackwell Deception, the 4th game in the series, introduces a new enemy for Rosa and Joey. There are apparently individuals who can absorb the positive energy in people and persuade them to live more destructive lives, which results in their death. They do this because absorbing the positive energies from these people increases their lifespan. They're vampires. Swap the teeth out for green woo magic and blood for what is apparently a totally tangible manifestation of a person's ambitions.
Must I define intangible?
Through a very convoluted series of events that A, don't make sense, and B, utilize a mixture of Deus Ex Machina and retconning, Joey and Rosa defeat just one of these vampires. The game ends with an after-credits scene of the police chief, already strongly hinted at being a vampire, putting out a word of warning to whomever killed one of their group, thinly veiled as a police threat to a serial killer. None of it matters. These vampires, that cliffhanger, and the revelation that the police chief is one of them completely disappear from the series, are never mentioned again save for one moment specifically to answer a single question, and are ignored in the final game. Even worse, a character from the last game with no significance to the story of the current one comes back as a Deus Ex MacGuffin McMuffin at the very end to save our heroes. What I've just described to you are the only things that kept me going. I wanted to know what any of these things meant, what that meant to Rosa and Joey, what the big deal was. The ending to the Blackwell Epiphany, the last game in the series, answers none of these, and the ending itself is...
It's awful! It's so bad!
Explaining it would take too long, and I don't spoil the endings to detective stories. But it sucks. And I know someone in the future is going to say, you don't like it because it isn't a happy ending. But no, it is a happy ending, and that's the problem. It's a happy ending for one character, and they are the most unqualified character for it. But more than that, more than how nonsensical of an ending it is, its lack of any answers renders the last 19 hours pointless. And because of that, I can't recommend these to anyone. At best, the Blackwell series is consistently mediocre. At worst, it is consistently inconsistent. For me, the ending completely deflated any positive feelings I had for the series, and I wasn't impressed to begin with. I can recognize the potential the Blackwell series had, but it squanders that potential at the home stretch and leaves you both unsatisfied and unfulfilled after the whole endeavor. Like a cheap hooker. Any destination that ruins the journey is a journey better not taken.
Is it worse than Jack Orlando? Hell no! But it's not worth the while, and that's a huge disappointment from something I thought was gonna be great. My name's GC. Remember that you are amazing, and keep on playing positive.
Hey guys, thanks for watching another episode of GC Positive. If you're new here, hi, my name's GC and I'm a positive kind of guy. If you're interested in watching some more of my stuff, I've got two videos for you here. The one is on Dragon Quest and is the beginning of a mini-series that I'm doing on the entire series. And the other is a quick little review about D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die, and I do it in my big man voice. If you'd like day-to-day updates on when the next video is coming out or would be interested in listening to me talk about random shit out of context, you can follow me on my Twitter using the link in the description below. You can like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want. I'm not gonna force you to do it, but I would appreciate it if you did. Once again, my name is GC. Remember that you are amazing, and I'll see you all next time.